Okay, so I'm going to turn on the recording. Welcome. In the chair, we have, from the list, Silverton, and on the floor, we have Ontario. Can I see everybody's topic sheets so that I can ensure that they are clear, please?
I want to clarify, I don't have the capability to print, so I did write them all down.
Okay.
So just.
Okay, I'm good with that.
Okay.
Okay, awesome. We will randomly select topics as called upon by the chair. Again, you will have a max of 2 topics and you have 15 minutes. Time will begin when the chair asks for new business. Any questions before we get started? Okay, Madam Chair.
The meeting room will come to order. We are now holding the first session of the state parliamentary procedure contest. As this is a contest setting, we will dispense of the reading of the minutes, treasury reports, committee reports, orders of the day, and move directly into the topics for discussion. I will now choose a random topic, which will be topic number 7, which reads, should Oregon FFA support the repeal of the Waters of the United States WOTSU Clean Water Act rules? Delegation, what's your pleasure?
Madam Chairperson.
I recognize the Sentinel from Ontario.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. I move that the 12 district secretaries write letters to Oregon State Legislature and the Environmental Protection Agency expressing our support of the repeal of the Waters of the United States Clean Water Act rules by January 1st, 2021.
Second.
The motion has been properly moved and seconded. Madam Maker of the main motion, would you please restate your main motion for my secretarial purposes, please?
Yes. I move that 12 district secretaries write letters to Oregon State Legislature and the Environmental Protection Agency expressing our support for the repeal of the Waters of the United States Clean Water Act rules by January 1st, 2021.
If adopted, the main motion would read, I move that Oregon FFA have the 12th district secretaries write letters to the Oregon State Legislation and Environmental Agency to the state legislation to share our support for the repeal of the Waters of the United States Act repeal by January 2021. Is that correct?
Yes.
As maker of this main motion, you have first rights to debate.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. I strongly encourage the floor to vote in favor of this main motion for the following very important reasons. By having the 12 district secretaries write these letters to not only the state legislature, but also the Environmental Protection Agency, we are sending our support to 2 different organizations that are distinctly involved in this issue. Seeing as the Clean Water Act rules and the Water of the United States Act, it has already been repealed, and replaced as of January 23rd, 2020. Showing our support for this issue is is very important, as it will give Oregon FFA a good impression with the state legislature as well as the Environmental Protection Agency. Some may argue that this is not worth it to write letters about this, seeing as it already has been repealed. But each of the different states in the union adopt different, even though the Act rules have been repealed as a whole, different states still adopt different parts of it. And so by showing our support for Oregon's decision on this matter and what we have decided to do is going to be a very important stand. Also, by having the date of January 1st, 2021, we are allowing enough time, 6 months, to be able to get these letters done, sent out, and received. And that way, we can also, this date is also past the dry months, which is June, July, August, September. So being past the dry months, we are also being able to now see how these Water Act rules are impacting farmers, as many of the district secretaries come from rural areas and farming areas. And so they will be able to tell firsthand exactly how these Act rules are impacting them and their families. For those reasons, I encourage the floor to vote in favor of this main motion. Thank you, Madam Chairperson and fellow floor members.
Is there any further discussion?
Madam Chairperson,
Chair recognizes the President from Ontario.
I move postpone indefinitely.
Second.
Postpone definitely has been properly moved and seconded. As maker of this postponement, you have first right to debate.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. I strongly encourage the floor to vote in favor of postpone indefinitely for the following reasons. As previous speaker stated, this was put in by the Obama administration, but then repealed and replaced by the Trump administration. Although it was already repealed and replaced, several of the parts of this is still in place in our state. But is this something we really want to use our FFA members' times? By sending the 12 letters to state legislature, it is highly likely that the state legislator won't look at these letters. This is already a topic that has been brought up to them, and by having students be writing them letters, who knows how much time they will put into it. This is a topic that FFA should not have a lot of input and go out and voice their opinions about it, because this is something that really should be left up to people that aren't students and that are just learning about this. And so for those reasons, I strongly encourage the floor to vote in favor of postpone indefinitely. Thank you, Madam Chairperson and fellow floor members.
Is there any further discussion on the topic at hand?
Madam Chairperson,
Chair recognizes the Treasurer from Ontario.
thank you, Madam Chairperson. I move lay on the table.
Second.
Lay on the table has been properly moved and seconded and requires a majority to vote to pass. All those in favor of lay on the table, please signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed, same sign. Lay on the table passes with 6 in favor and 0 opposed. We will now move into the next topic of discussion, which is topic number 3. Should Oregon FFA support requiring a commercial driver's license for hauling of agricultural products or livestock. Delegation, that's your pleasure.
Madam Chairperson,
Chair recognizes the Sentinel from
thank you,
Ontario.
Madam Chairperson. I move that the 12 district vice presidents create a community forum in their own communities to demonstrate to the public the pros of requiring a commercial driver's license for the hauling of agricultural products or livestock by the date of January 1st, 2021.
Second.
Motion has been properly moved and seconded. Madam Maker of the main motion, could you please restate it for my secretarial purposes?
Yes. I move that the 12 district vice presidents each create a community forum in their own community to demonstrate the pros of requiring a commercial driver's license for hauling of agricultural products or livestock by January 1st, 2021.
If adopted, the main motion would read that the 12 district presidents create a community forum within their communities to demonstrate the pros of requiring a commercial driver's license for the hauling of agricultural products and livestock. Is that correct?
Yes.
As maker of the main motion, you have first right to debate.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. I strongly encourage the floor to vote in favor of this main motion for the following very important reasons. By community forum, we are providing a free event for 12 different communities across the entire state of Oregon, discussing an important issue, which is requiring a commercial driver's license for the hauling of agricultural products and livestock. This issue is an important topic that must be discussed because to have safer drivers on the road if they have to have a commercial driver's license, and this will prohibit any drivers who are not skilled in the area of hauling those big vehicles, and making sure that if they do haul them, they have to have that commercial driver's license. And also, by having it be a community forum, we are allowing people from the communities who want to come. So this is not a training session that they have to go to. It's simply an informational session that they can attend if they want to. By the date of January 1st, 2021, we're allowing 6 months for 12 different communities to be able to create these forums. Now, the vice presidents do not have to do it themselves. They can enlist the help of their officer team to also help them, but they will, by having them be in charge, they are, as the vice presidents of my chapter, I know that being the vice president, we are able to handle the stress of making this community forum. And for those reasons, I encourage the floor to vote in favor of this main motion. Thank you, Madam Chairperson and fellow floor members.
Is there any further discussion?
Madam Chairperson.
Chair recognizes the Vice President of Ontario.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. It is for the following reasons that I strongly the date is pretty far away, and that encourages procrastination if this motion passes and if we do want to get this done. So I think the date is way too far out, and it is for those reasons that I strongly encourage my fellow members of the floor to vote in opposition of this main motion. Thank you, Madam Chairperson and fellow floor members.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion?
Madam Chairperson,
Sheriff Matthews, Treasurer from Ontario.
thank you, Madam Chairperson. I encourage the floor to vote opposed of this main motion for the following reason. The date January 1st, 2021 is still a relatively close date, and with the COVID-19 pandemic, we don't know if we'll even be able to gather as a group. And also the idea of supporting requiring a commercial driver's license would make FFA members who are trying to carry their animals to fair or animals to shows a lot more difficult than already is.
All motions have been moved and seconded, and previous question on all pending business has passed.
It has been called and previous question is passed on all pending business. We'll move directly into voting on the main motion, which if adopted would read, the 12 district vice presidents create a community forum in their communities to demonstrate the pros of requiring a commercial driver's license for hauling a stock.
Brianna, did you freeze?
All those opposed, same sign. The main motion passes with 4 in favor, 1 opposed, and 1 abstention. I now adjourn this session of the state parliamentary procedure contest and will give 3 minutes to the secretary to finish their notes.
Okay, Lee, I sent the minutes to you.
Awesome, thank you. I will reload. I got them. You are good to go. Okay, I'm going to resume the recording. Welcome to the second round of the Advanced Parli Pro contest. In the chair, we have Malala, and on the floor, we have Silverton. Reminder, if you guys that are on the floor will hold up your topic sheets so that I can check them really quick. I'll just look at them really fast, and then we'll proceed. Awesome. Okay, looks good. Thank you. Our chair has the topics for this round. Reminder that there will be no more than 2 topics, and you have 15 minutes in this round. Are there any questions?
I have a question. So since the topics have already been chosen, and typically I ask for the secretary to draw the question,
would you like me to
I
give
just
the
go
topics
straight into what topics?
It can be up to you. I can either give the topics directly to Lola, or you can just read them.
Okay, I'll just read it then.
Okay, that works. Okay, I will start the time once you ask for business.
You just froze. Can you say that again?
Oh, sorry about that. I will start the time once you ask for a motion.
Okay. I now call to order the second session of the State Advanced Parliamentary Procedure Career Development event. Due to the nature of this contest, we'll be dispensing of all opening and closing ceremonies, the reading of all past reports, and move directly into new business. The first topic for discussion is topic number 4, which reads, should Oregon FFA support growers and producers continuing or establishing state growers assessments or national checkoffs? Delegation, what is your pleasure?
Madam Chair.
The chairman calls upon the Secretary of Silverton.
Thank you. I move that Oregon FFA support a reassessment of state grower assessments every 3 years, starting in the year 2021.
Second.
So you would like your main motion to read that Oregon FFA supports a reassessment of state grower assessments every 3 years, starting in the year 2021. Is that correct?
Yes.
Is there a second?
Second.
The main motion has been properly moved and seconded. Mr. Maker of the main motion, you have first right to debate.
Thank you. I truly believe that state grower assessments can be beneficial, but I do realize that they were established in the early 1900s and have not been changed since. In the early 1900s, many farmers were in need of help, and so state grower assessments came in to help market and sell their products. Right now, there's a bigger number of large farms that would like to market by themselves, but I think if we do that, we could create more problems. So to solve this, I believe a reassessment done every 3 years to test if these assessments are still beneficial to our farmers, we will really be benefiting our state of Oregon. Every year, the United States profits $32 million because these state grower assessments are allowing farmers to market their products. It is clear to see that there is a benefit with assessments and having a commissioner research and sell individual farmers' products. But like I've said before, more and more farmers, with this in mind,
of a workshop at state fairs with a guest speaker to educate about assessments.
You would like your amendment to the main motion to be inserted at the end and add, as well as the creation of a workshop at state fairs with a guest speaker to educate about assessment, correct?
Yes.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Amendment to the main motion has been properly moved and seconded. Madam Maker of the amendment, you have first right to debate.
Thank you. Members of the delegation, I strongly believe in this amendment. I think it is an important addition to this main motion to not only support the assessments, but to educate, that us as FFA members are able to understand the assessments, as well as educating the public about what this is all going on. So by having a workshop at the state fair, you get both FFA members and members of the public so they know what assessments are, how they're beneficial, how they educate and promote, and how they research all these commodities that are in Oregon. That is why, members of the delegation, I believe that we should vote up this amendment to the main motion for the benefit of us as well as the public. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion?
Madam Chairman,
The chairman calls upon the president of Silverton.
I'm in opposition of the amendment to the main motion for this key reason. The assessments are a very small portion of what the commissions do, as it's the only funding that the commissions get. The assessment would only be talking about the percentages that these small and large farms are giving to their commissions in order to do funding for research and other purposes. And having a key speaker highlight only what the assessments are doing, which is solely funding, wouldn't be as beneficial as having some other guest speaker at our state convention educating our FFA students. And because of this, I urge the delegation to stand with me in voting down the amendment to the main motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion?
Madam Chair,
The chairman calls upon the reporter of Silverton.
I move previous question on all pending business.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Previous question on all pending business has been properly moved and seconded, and we will now proceed to vote on previous question on all pending business. All in favor of the amendment to the main motion, please raise your hand. All opposed, same sign. The amendment to the main motion fails with 0 in favor and 6 opposed. We will now proceed to vote on the main motion, which reads that Oregon FFA support a reassessment of state growers' assessments every 3 years starting in the year 2021. All in favor of this main motion, please raise your hand. All opposed, same sign. The main motion fails with 0 in favor and 6 opposed. We will now proceed to vote on the next, or we'll now proceed to discuss the next topic for discussion, which is topic number 5. Should Oregon FFA support changes in federal forestry practices to allow for the prompt removal of dead and downed materials and restoration of forest lands after a catastrophic event? Delegation, what is your pleasure?
Madam Chair,
The chairman calls upon the vice president of Silverton.
I move that Oregon FFA support a federal forestry practice amendment proposed by the Wildfire Council, which would develop specific formulas accounting for economic and ecological factors and the prompt removal of dead and down timber following forest fires, as well as restoration needs post-removal.
Could you please repeat your main motion?
Yes. I move that Oregon FFA support a federal forestry practice amendment proposed by the Wildfire Council, which would develop a formula accounting for economic and ecological factors and determining the timelines for the prompt removal of dead and down dead and down timber following forest fires, as well as restoration needs post-removal.
I'm sorry, your computer's lagging. Could you repeat after formula?
Yes. A specific formula accounting for economic and ecological factors and determining specific timelines for the prompt removal of dead and down timber following forest fires, as well as restoration needs post-removal. For the prompt removal of dead and down timber, that is correct.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
The main motion has been properly moved and seconded. So, Madam Maker of the main motion, you have first right to debate.
Thank you. Delegation, as we speak, the Institute for National Resources is using science to solve hypotheticals. When it comes to catastrophic events, such as forest fires, it's very difficult for the removal of materials to occur. This is due to a plethora of variables. The primary ones being land ownership and proximity to surrounding structures, whether it's in state, federal, or private land, that deters different companies and corporations from removing these materials. If we're able to look at what utilize the formulas being developed, we will ensure that these materials are being removed within a timeline that is not going to affect businesses or the civilians around them. and it is very crucial that we do so
within the next few years or the next few months. This could be very important for areas which have already had some of these issues. As for the restoration needs, the quicker we're able to remove these materials, the more we will come back to planting trees, restoring some of the wild and the ecosystems that have been destroyed by these events. And for these reasons, I trust that the Assembly will stand with me in the affirmative vote, voting yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion?
Madam Chairman.
The chairman calls upon the Sentinel of Silverton.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I'm in complete opposition of this main motion for the following reason. Specifically, it says clear out the dead and down materials after a forest fire or following a forest fire. Frankly, to be quite honest, that is probably one of the most dangerous times to actually go into the forests, go into the ecosystem to actually clean out this dead and down material, this timber. Also, a forest fire, what does it usually do? Obviously, it burns majority of the debris that's on the ground, majority of the brush, and it affects the trees in such a way that they could easily fall down and potentially crush any of the workers that could be out there very, very easily with just a slight accident or even a slight earthquake. If that happened to happen right then, it would completely devastate any work crew who actually went out to clean up this dead and down materials. Unfortunately, this main motion puts lives in danger. And unfortunately, even if this goes against the timber industry and benefiting from gathered timber, I don't believe that forest fires.
Time.
Seeing-
All motions have been moved and seconded, and previous question on all pending business has passed.
Seeing as time has been called, the previous question on all pending business automatically passes. And we will now proceed to vote on the main motion that reads, Oregon FFA support a federal forestry practice amendment proposed by the Wildfire Council, which develops a formula accounting for economic and ecological factors, determining a specific timeline for a prompt removal of dead and down materials following forest fires, and a development for post-removal. All in favor of this main motion, please raise your hand. All opposed, same sign. Thank you. The main motion fails with 0 in favor and 6 opposed. Seeing that time has been called, no more topics can be brought forth to the delegation, and I now declare this meeting adjourned.
Lola, you now have 3 minutes to finish your minutes and share them with me via Google document.
Okay. Jessica, can you repeat the end of the main motion for the second topic? Just like the very end after development?
Oh, the development for post-removal? That part?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, I shared them with you.
Oops, I'll unmute. I got them. Thank you.
Okay.
So you guys are welcome to stay on, and your teammates will join you. I'm going to pause the. So welcome to the third round of the Advanced Parli Pro contest. In the chair, we have Sutherland, and on the floor, we have Malala. If I can check everybody's topic sheets really quick, just to make sure they have nothing other than topics on them. Great, looks good. Awesome, thank you guys. Again, you will only have a maximum of 2 topics. We'll have 15 minutes, and time will be called at the end of that 15 minutes. I will start the time when you ask for debate from the floor. Madam Chair, you guys are good.
All right. The meeting room will come to order. We are now holding the 3rd session of the Oregon FFA State Parliamentary Procedure Career Development event. Because this is a competition, we will forego all opening formalities and proceed directly to new business, which is the consideration of topics at hand. I will remind the delegation that I wish to be referred to as Madam Chairman. The first topic up for discussion is number 2. Should Oregon FFA support the development of a pinning system for hemp production? What is the delegation's pleasure?
Madam Chairman,
The chair recognizes the reporter from Malala.
I move Oregon FFA work in conjunction with the Oregon Department of Agriculture to develop a plan to create a pinning system for the production of hemp.
Your main motion reads, I move Oregon FFA work in conjunction with the Oregon Department of Agriculture to create a pinning system for the production of hemp. Is this correct?
Yes.
Is there a second?
Second.
The main motion has been properly moved and seconded. Madam Maker of the motion, you have the first right to debate.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. A pinning system is a optional program for farmers that grow crops that could potentially cross-pollinate, and it allows them to basically either locate or pin on a communal map where it is that they're growing their crops. And so hemp is a very hot topic within the agriculture industry, but just within the general public, like in general. Ever since it was legalized in the 2018 Farm Bill, it was made federally legal, making it a very hot topic. But also within that, a lot of issues have arisen. And really the biggest issue that we see, at least here in Oregon, is the issue that has arisen between hemp and marijuana. And so since hemp has been made federally legal, marijuana is actually not federally legal. And so here in Oregon, there have been hemp farmers that have tried to transport their hemp across state lines, but have been stopped by police and arrested because they thought that they were in the possession of marijuana. And just to note, hemp has to contain either less than 0.3% of THC in order to be considered hemp. But these people are when they get pulled over and they test to see if what it is that their crop is, they're simply testing it to see if there are any contents or levels of THC at all. And so if we were to be able to create a pinning system, if hemp farmers were to be pulled over, then they would be able to quickly locate where it is that their farm is located to actually verify that what it is indeed is what they indeed in fact have is hemp, because very, very similar, and so it's causing a lot of problems. And second of all, we have a lot of people that are trying to grow hemp, and they do not know anything about the way that you have to properly grow it. And so it's causing a lot of problems with other hemp farms because of cross-pollination. And so because hemp is hermaphroditic, meaning that it can potentially change its gender. And so since there are a lot of people that don't know how to properly grow hemp, it's causing a lot of problems and they're losing a lot of money financially. And lastly, it could be disastrous for both farmers and both crops, just because hemp, it would increase the level of THCs, but then for marijuana, it would reduce the potency of the plant. And so again, there's a lot of financial loss within that. And so if we were to be able to create a pinning system, both hemp farmers and marijuana farmers would be able to locate where it is that these farms are, so that if they're growing their crops, they are knowing to be cautious of where it is that these crops are being farmed. And so for these reasons, I urge the delegation to vote in favor of this main motion.
Is there any further discussion?
Madam Chairman.
The chair recognizes the Vice President from Malala.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I move to amend the main motion by inserting after Oregon Department of Agriculture and the Willamette Valley Specialty Seed Association.
Your amendment reads, I move to amend the main motion by inserting after Oregon Department of Agriculture and the Willamette Valley Specialty Seed Association. Is this correct?
Yes.
Is there a second?
Second.
The amendment to the main motion has been properly moved and seconded. Madam Maker of the amendment, you have the first right to debate.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. The reason why I made this amendment is because I believe our previous speaker had a lot of very valid points in her argument about why a pinning system could be really beneficial for hemp as a crop. But I think that the Oregon Department of Agriculture is well established and has a lot of resources. But I think if we were to work with the Willamette Valley Specialty Seed Association, they already run a very successful pinning system for brassica crops, which cross-pollinate very easily, just like the crops of hemp and marijuana, which are both legal in Oregon. And so considering that they already have all this prior knowledge on how to run a successful pinning system, and they already know what resources would be necessary, they know what manpower would need to be requested, I think it would be really beneficial to be able to work with them and use their knowledge that they have on this topic. So for these two main reasons, I really urge the delegation to vote in favor of this amendment to the main motion. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion?
Madam Chairman.
The chair recognizes the treasurer from Malala.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I move to amend the amendment by inserting after association and local farmers.
Could you please restate your amendment? I didn't quite hear you.
Insert after association and local farmers.
Is there a second?
Second.
The amendment to the main motion has been properly moved and seconded. Madam Maker of the amendment to the amendment, you have the first right to debate.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I made this amendment for a few main reasons. The first is that it is very important that we discuss this with local farmers, particularly hemp farmers, because they know the necessities that come along with growing hemp, and they can be a more specific group that we can discuss this with. The ODA only has 2 people whose particular job is working with hemp, and so it would be useful to have hemp farmers so that there are more people that can work on this project. And second of all, it will be very important that we discuss this with grape farmers, because hemp has been in the smell of the grapes in vineyards, and this destroys the wine that is created. And so that can be a major problem for vineyards. So if we were to discuss this with local vineyards in the area, they could help us figure out how far away they need to be and to be pinned on the system so that the scent of hemp doesn't destroy their crop. To answer this question, it is important that we include them in this process. And finally, it's very important that we discuss this with marijuana farmers. Of course, it could be very problematic to try to pin marijuana on a pinning system because it's not nationally legal. It is illegal for national funding to go into a pinning system that involves marijuana. And so we'll have to get around a lot of barriers to be able to find a way to pin marijuana on a pinning system. And along with this, because it is legal for residents of just average residents to grow marijuana plants, we will have to look into whether or not these few plants can ruin entire hemp fields. And so that will be a major discussion of whether or not it's even possible for us to map that on a pinning system. And for these reasons, I urge the delegation to vote in favor of this amendment to the main motion. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion?
Madam Chairman.
The chair recognizes the president from Malala.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I move to refer this item of business to a committee of 5 appointed by the chair with the powers to investigate and to report back by the next business meeting with an ex officio member, the Oregon Hemp Commission, and one from OSU.
Could you please repeat your ex officio members?
One ex officio member from the Oregon Hemp Commission and one ex officio member from OSU.
Is there a second?
Second.
The referral to the committee has been properly moved and seconded. Madam Maker of the referral, you have the first right to debate.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. There is clearly a lot of information that needs to be gathered on this topic before any solid decisions can be made. For this item of business, it'll give us time to gather that information. And by having a member from the Oregon Hemp Commission, as stated before, the ODA only has 2 people that are designated for hemp specifically. So if we add the Oregon Hemp Commission, it'll give a lot more manpower and more resources for this pinning system to actually be able to be put in place and be ran properly. And they also have a lot more knowledge for this crop specifically. And if we have a member from OSU, they have special labs and research that has been done on the hemp crop itself. And so by adding a member from OSU, they can share that information and allow this committee to properly make a decision on how this pinning system should be run or if it should even be created in general. And for those main reasons, I urge the delegation to vote in favor of this referral.
Is there any further debate?
Madam Chairman,
The chair recognizes the secretary from Malala.
I move previous question on all pending business.
Is there a second?
Second.
Previous question on all pending business has been properly moved and seconded. I will remind the delegation that this motion is non-amendable, non-debatable, and requires a 2/3 vote to pass. All those in favor of previous question on all pending business, please signify by raising your right hand. Thank you. You may put your hands down. All opposed, same sign. With 6 in favor, 0 opposed, previous question on all pending business passes. We will now proceed to vote on the referral to a committee, which reads, I move to refer this matter to a committee of 5 appointed by the chair with the power to research and report back at the next scheduled meeting with 1 ex officio member from the Oregon Hemp Commission and 1 ex officio member from Oregon State University. All in favor of this referral to a committee, please signify by raising your right hand. Thank you. You may put your hands down. All opposed, same sign. With 6 in favor, 0 opposed, the referral to committee passes. Refer this matter to a committee of 5 appointed by the chair with the power to research and report back at the next scheduled meeting with 1 ex officio member from the Oregon Hemp Commission and 1 ex officio member from Oregon State University. The chair appoints the president, secretary, vice president, reporter, and treasurer from Malala. We will now proceed to discuss the next topic up for discussion, which is topic number 6. Should Oregon FSA support changes in the state's labor laws to allow workers as young as 12 to be employed as seasonal farm labor? I will now entertain a motion.
Madam Chairman,
The chair recognizes the secretary from Malala.
I move that Oregon FFA hold a rally at the state capitol to campaign for modification of state labor laws to allow workers as young as 12 to be employed as seasonal farm labor.
FFA hold a rally at the state capitol to campaign for a change to state labor laws that allow employees as young as 12 to be employed as seasonal farm labor. Is this correct?
Yes.
Is there a second?
Second.
The main motion has been properly moved and seconded. Madam Maker of the motion, you have the first right to debate.
Thank you. I made this main motion for a few main reasons. The first being that if we allowed workers as young as 12 to be employed as seasonal farm labor, they would be able to gain skills that they might not have access to otherwise. A lot of 12-year-olds and older don't really have their first job until they're around 16 years old, and they usually work at a fast food or store of some kind, and so they don't have an opportunity to have a physical labor job and learn some of those skills. Another reason I made this main motion is because they would also be able to save up money for their college.
All motions have been moved and seconded, and previous question and all pending business has passed.
Seeing as time has been called, all motions moved and seconded, and previous question on all pending business passed, we will proceed to vote on the main motion, which reads, I move Oregon FSA hold a rally at the state capitol to campaign for a change to state labor laws to allow employees to be employed as seasonal farm labor. All those in favor of this main motion, please signify by raising your right hand. Thank you. You may put your hands down. All opposed, same sign. With 6 in favor, 0 opposed, the main motion passes. Oregon FFA will hold a rally at the state capitol to campaign for a change to state labor laws to allow employees as young as 12 to be employed as seasonal farm labor. Because no new business can come before this delegation, I will give my secretary 2 minutes to finish her notes, at which time I will declare this meeting adjourned.
Who do I share this with?
If you can share them with me, do you have my email?
Okay. I do not.
I will put it in the chat.
Okay, thank you.
If I can type correctly.
Do I have to?
Okay, welcome to the final and 4th round of the Advanced Public Speaking Contest. In the chair, we have Oakland, Ontario. Wow. And on the floor, we have Sutherland. For your Sutherland students, I need to check your topic sheets. So if you'll just hold them up so I can look at them and make sure there's nothing else on them. Awesome. Zach, do you have yours?
I don't have a topic sheet.
You don't have a topic sheet. Okay, well, I don't have to worry about you having something written down. Okay, great. Again, topics have been randomly selected and given to the chair, and she will let you know what those are. Time will be called at the end of 15 minutes if you are not completed by then. Any questions? Okay, I will start the time when the chair designates. Thank you.
Okay. The meeting room will come to order. We are now holding the fourth session of the Oregon FFA State Parliamentary Procedure Contest. Seeing as this is a contest, we will dispense with all. I would like to remind the floor that I wish to be addressed as Madam Chairperson, and the topics will be chosen at random. The first topic of debate is topic number 5. Should Oregon FFA support changes in federal forestry practices to allow for the prompt removal of dead and downed materials and restoration of forest lands after a catastrophic event? You have heard the topic at hand. The chair will now entertain a main motion.
Madam Chairman.
The chair calls on the president.
I move Oregon FFA support opening 75% of federal lands for salvage logging by private companies affecting 1,000 acres of land or more by partnering with the Oregon Farm Bureau to campaign for new legislation.
For the benefit of my secretary, will you please restate your main motion?
I move Oregon FFA support opening 75% of federal lands for salvage logging by private companies after catastrophic by partnering with the Oregon Farm Bureau to campaign for new legislation.
What was the last part of that?
By partnering with the Oregon Farm Bureau to campaign for new legislation.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay.
Your motion reads, they support opening 75% of federal lands to salvage private logging companies after catastrophic event affecting 1,000 acres or more by partnering with Oregon Farm Bureau to campaign for new legislation. Is this correct?
Yes.
Seeing as your motion has been properly moved and seconded, Madam Maker of the motion, you have first right to debate.
So forestry is a huge deal in Oregon because a great deal of our state is covered in forest, and this timberland is really valuable both economically and environmentally. However, one huge area of contest is what we do when forests are damaged by catastrophic events and how we handle that both environmentally and economically. So a catastrophic event is any event that would come through a forest and destroy a huge part of it. A common example in our state would be fire. And so when these events come through, they leave a lot of dead and downed timber and vegetation. And this is both worth a lot of money economically, and so it's a shame to just leave it there to rot. And it causes environmental concerns because it provides fuel for future fires, and we already have a huge forest fire problem. Oregon FFA needs to take a stance on this important agricultural issue. What this motion would propose is that we work with the Oregon Farm Bureau, with whom we already have great connections and is a huge, powerful organization in our state, to campaign for legislation that would allow for private companies to go in and salvage this damaged and dead and downed material. This would mean that local economies would be boosted, and local private timber companies, which have been having a hard time in recent years, would get some extra business and some extra income, and it would take care of that huge environmental concern. It's a great motion that really covers middle ground between the environmentalists and the economists, and so today's image and be a good issue to support. The 1,000-acre thing comes in because while these practices can be damaging on land, we want to make sure we're only going in when there's enough timber dead and downs to make it worth our time. This is a motion that has been thought out and would cover a lot of area and do a lot of good in our state, and I strongly urge the delegation to rise in support.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion?
Madam Chairman.
Madam Chairman.
The reporter.
Thank you. I strongly disagree with this main motion for several reasons. First of all, no matter the size of the acreage of the event, all the down material gives a lot of nutrition to the soil in the forests. It also creates habitat for animals that are in stress because of these catastrophic events. And these habitats in the down material that are on the forest land could be very important. Also, the management of this would cost a lot of money and be hard to control based off of the amount of acres and depending on whether or not it needs to be logged or not. For these reasons, I strongly urge the delegation to vote no for this main motion.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion?
Madam Chairman.
The chair calls on the vice president.
Thank you. I move to amend the main motion by striking at the end, actually after Oregon Farm Bureau, to campaign for new legislation through, so it would read that we would be adding to it to tack on to currently existing environmental legislation.
Your amendment would add on to the end to current environmental legislation. Is this correct?
Yes, but it would be striking through campaigning for new legislation and replacing it with that.
Okay, so it would with Oregon Farm Bureau to current environmental legislation.
I'm sorry, it would read by partnering with the Oregon Farm Bureau by creating, by adding this topic to current environmental legislation.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seeing as your amendment has been properly moved and seconded, Mr. Maker of the amendment, you have first right to debate.
Thank you. It's very clear to all of us that we know that it's important that this issue gets resolved, but it's important in our approach as well. When we consider a topic such as this, we need to consider the factors that are already in play. It'll be extremely difficult for us to get this topic through as new legislation in the Oregon Senate because of the polarization of our state and the typical urban-rural divide where we have many of our senators and our representatives in places where they typically do not support forestry and different acts like that. It's a good way for us to get this passed through the Oregon legislature through an amendment. This is very possible because they will be able to consider the different factors that go into this. And when we consider other topics, such as we saw last year with the cap and trade legislation, different environmental impacts can be seen in a variety of ways, so it's important that we target this slightly. Additionally, when we consider this by moving it through adding it onto direct legislation, it also gives the Oregon FFA Association a better look as a whole. This shows that we're not just supporting one issue close to us, but we also recognize the environmental impacts and the different ecological impacts that we see in the state of Oregon. As a very diverse state, it's important that we recognize the shortfalls and what can come out of legislation like this. So it will not only support Oregon FFA, it will not only support forestry, but it will also be good for the state of Oregon as a whole. So for these reasons, please vote through this amendment.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion?
Madam Chairman.
The chair calls on the secretary.
I am against this amendment to the main motion for many reasons. One being, I get this isn't a very important matter, but I really just don't think it's important enough to add onto legislation. If we were just to act on the situation, we would have a much better outcome. Also, by adding it to legislation, we would most likely be benefiting more of the big businesses across Oregon rather than the small businesses. And with the main motion that we had first towards the small businesses, which would be more beneficial to our county and the catastrophic events around it. And for these reasons, I strongly urge you to vote against the amendment to the main motion.
Thank you. Is there any further debate?
Madam Chairman,
The chair calls on the Sentinel.
I move to refer this matter to the state-winning forestry CDE team to research and report back at the last business session of state convention.
For the benefit of my secretary, will you please restate?
Yes, I move to refer this matter to the state-winning forestry CDE team to research and report back at the last business session of state convention.
Is there a second?
Second.
Your referral would be to the state-winning forestry CDE team to research and report back at the last business session of the Oregon FFA State Convention. Is this correct?
Yes.
Seeing as your referral has been properly moved and seconded, Mr. Maker of the referral, you have first right to debate.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Two simple reasons to refer this to the state-winning forestry CDE team. First, there are a limited amount of people. With limited amount of people, less time to argue, more time to consult, and more time to find the facts. Second of all, you have a cohesive team that has won the state competition. They understand what trees need to be taken out and what trees need to be stay or how to stay, and they'll know how to implement forest safety practices to ensure that whatever we do, it impacts the environment in a positive way instead of a negative way, and it helps the community as a whole than make it as a negative aspect of guidelines towards our community and the state. For these reasons, I urge the delegation to vote in favor of this referral.
Any further debate? Is there any further debate? Seeing as there is none, we will go directly into voting. We will begin voting on the referral to a committee, which would be to the state-winning forestry CDE team to research and report back at the last business session of the Oregon FFA State Convention. All those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. Thank you. All those opposed, same sign. Thank you. The referral passes with a vote of 6 in favor, 0 opposed. We'll now begin debate talking about the second topic at hand. The second topic of debate is topic number 1. Should Oregon FFA support federal tariffs on imported agricultural products? You have heard the topic of debate. The chair will now entertain a main motion.
Madam Chairman.
The chair calls on the treasurer.
Thank you. I move Oregon FFA support federal tariffs on all imported horticulture products by implementing a social media campaign.
For the benefit of my secretary, will you please restate your main motion?
Yes. I move Oregon FFA support implementing federal tariffs on all imported horticulture products by implementing a social media campaign.
Your motion reads that Oregon FFA support imported. Will you restate the beginning of that motion?
Yeah, support federal tariffs on all imported horticulture products.
Oregon FFA support federal tariffs on all imported horticultural products by implementing a social media campaign. Is this correct?
Yes.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seeing as the motion has been properly moved and seconded, Mr. Maker of the motion, you have first right to debate.
Thank you. There's a few things we need to understand right off the bat. What is a tariff? A tariff is essentially a tax on an imported product from another country. Now, when we talk about the benefits of tariffs, we see number one, it can stabilize or add stability to or security to an American market when there's risk for instability. So that's really going to assure us that if something happens here, that doesn't mean we're completely out of the commodity or that product. As well, we see how much of an economic benefit that tariffs can have. When we look at the United States, imported agricultural products to the United States amount to 120 massive amount of money. And so those are two big reasons that we want to support tariffs. Now, when we look at what we put that on, look at horticulture products. 2/3 of imported agricultural products to the United States are horticulture products. So it's a massive amount of what we're already importing. And so we want to make sure, number one, that we are focusing our tariffs on something that is the vast majority. And it's something that we're not going to have to shift too much, seeing as we already have a very developed system and our connections when it comes to those horticulture products, because we've grown that so widely. And I mentioned a social media campaign. Now, the best way that we're really going to want to make this known is
all motions have been moved and seconded, and previous question on all pending business has passed.
Seeing as time has been called and previous question on all pending business has been passed, we will begin voting on the main motion at hand that reads Oregon FFA support federal tariffs on all imported horticulture products by implementing a social media campaign. All those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. Thank you. All those opposed, same sign. Thank you. The main abstentions. Seeing as time has been called and no further business can be brought before the floor, I will now adjourn this meeting. Please allow my secretary 3 minutes to finish her notes.
All right.
Anything?
I don't think so. So let me go over it, like the voting stuff. So I have, from the first topic, I have the main motion that the president moved about salvaging private logging companies that had over 1,000 acres or more, and they were partnering with the Oregon Farm Bureau to campaign the new legislation.
Yeah.
Hold on, I'm capitalizing this. And then I have the second, and then it says the vice president from the Sutherland chapter moved to the main motion by striking out the campaign and replacing it with current environment legislation.
Yeah, they struck out to campaign for new legislation.
By striking out the new campaign legislation. And replacing it with current environment legislation?
Yeah,
Isn't that the same?
by adding to current environmental legislation.
Ooh, okay. And then I have the second, and then I have the Sentinel move to refer this to a matter to the state winning forestry CDE team to research the topic and bring the report back in the state convention's last session.
Last business session, yeah.
Last.
And then the vote was 6-0.
Yeah, and that's what it was for the next ones too. And then I have the last motion was the treasurer from the Sutherland chapter moved that Oregon FFA support implementing federal tariff media campaign.
Okay, ladies, 3 minutes is up. So Monica, if you're good, you've already shared them with me, I think. So let me find them.